that Lieutenant Brown, then the 100-mile march up here under brutal conditions, the guys are just wanting water to drink, and they're told don't stop to fill canteens. They march all day long, and they hope they get to fill them at night, I guess. But anyway, it was a battle constantly to get the canteens filled, and he was always sticking up for his guys. That you know, like a guy would be guarding a well so people couldn't fill a canteen, and he'd take his men's canteens and go over there, and because he was an officer, he'd fill them. He'd get away with it. And he did this all the way up. He was known for looking out for the guys for water. Well, at one point they're south of Gettysburg, they're coming and they're stopped by the traffic. Just can't move. And they're on a bridge that's about 10 feet long and about 2 feet above the water, and this clear water is running under the bridge. And so he said, the guys who are on the bridge can jump down and fill the canteens, but you can't, you got to take some other people's canteens, you know. And so, and the word was don't fill canteens. Well, this probably Stannard was the guy who rode up and said, who's in charge here? And he says, I am, sir. He says, you're not fit to be an officer, give me your sword. And he had to give him a sword. And so he went into camp just before the battle with no sword. Well, these guys used their swords, like they'd put their hat on the sword and say, follow me, guys, and they could see that. It was used pretty practically, not just as a sword. So anyhow, what he does is he gets back to camp, and one of the guys he bumps with says, I know where you can get a hatchet. And so either he had it or he got it out of a supply wagon. I heard another guy gave it to him, so he had a hatchet. So on the day that they broke up Pickett's charge, he's carrying a hatchet. And so the hatchets, you know, he follow me, man, and he's got the hatchet up. And so they followed him, and they did their thing that day. But when he got into the flank of Pickett's charge, there was a guy there that was, and he held as an officer, and he had the hatchet, and the officer gave up, and he says, I want your sword. And he took the sword off and he gave it to him. So he got another sword the next day, taking up Pickett's charge. And so then, now 40 years later, when they built this monument, the guys who paid for the monument, or probably the soldiers that are here, wanted to have him holding a hatchet. But the U.S. Army wouldn't let him do it because that would cast aspersions on the officer who took his sword away. So they said, no, you can't have the sword, the hatchet, but come over here. There's the hatchet. Can you see it? Sticking over the edge?
Sticking over the edge.
You're right into the sun. Come over this side if you're trying to take a picture, and you'll do. Oh yeah, you'll do much better from this side. You see but that hatchet finally did show up. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Well,
That's great. It's a good angle from over here.
Yeah, real good angle from here. Many people who've come here have never seen that hatchet. You can see why they miss it. But I've had my hands 6 inches from that sword he got that day, but a glass case at the Historical Society expo they held over in Tunbridge one day. The St. Albans people had it there. That's where he was from. And the thing was right there, and I was trying to con the girl into letting me put my hand in, and I never succeeded. But I'm going to go up to the St. Albans Historical Society someday and make another attempt.
Was that Stannard there?
No, that's Stannard.
I mean the tall guy, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And Stannard, there's a little argument about the swinging door, whether Stannard or whether Hancock was the one that originated the idea. But anyhow, there's a picture in the book, in that last publication I gave you, of Scully. And Scully was a sergeant, and he was the right-hand side of the unit. I think it was the 13th that was the furthest over there. So he became the pivot man in the pivot unit of the pivot battle of the war. So he gave speeches in Vermont the rest of his life, I guess. And there's a picture of him in the book, Scully. Yeah. Hey, well, listen, that's the story of Lieutenant Brown. He's a very, and if you read the literature, it shows up again and again. He's trying to get water for the troops, and so he was known for that.